the newest release in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, the week before, has only been out for a little bit, but it has given us a lot of insight to the world of Five Nights at Freddy's and has answered some long-standing questions in the community, such as who caused the bite of 87, when the game takes place, and how many souls are in Golden Freddy. But today's video is on something all over Twitter and other platforms about how this book finally confirms retrofit theory, or theory similar to it. If that name doesn't ring a bell, let's break down what the general consensus was before this theory came about. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the fandom was expecting for us to go to a reopening of Freddy's. After all, that's the way the game advertised itself. Yet, when we got our hands on the game, some details didn't make sense. The animatronics were allowed to move around during the day, Phone Guy was alive again, and we met a new set of animatronics, that being the toys and the withered animatronics. The withered animatronics had some distinct features from the classics from Five Nights at Freddy's 1 didn't have, such as buttons on their stomach, whiskers on Freddy's face, a new mouth shape, new teeth, new feet. It was the whole package. And the game would end up telling us these versions of the characters were kept for repurpose by Fazbear, most likely to open the location we play in during Five Nights at Freddy's 1. FNAF 2 was a prequel, and we know these characters came from a location with a Pirate's Cove, which this new location did not have, leading most of us to believe the FNAF 1 location and the original Freddy's, where these withers come from, must be the same location, and that's what we all agreed on. That a version of the withered, well, Prewithered, existed in 1985, which decayed and became the withers in Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, while this worked at the time, the more you look into the series so far, it more seems like these pre-withers never existed. Where's the proof? When the player first starts Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the player opens up to the FNAF 1 location in the dark, from the Mask of Freddy, turning to the left and to the right, looking at Bonnie and Chica. But if you were paying attention, the suits used here are not the ones from FNAF 2, no, they're the FNAF 1 designs. In the next few scenes, we see Golden Freddy from Five Nights at Freddy's 1, and the puppet. To our knowledge, the puppet was never at the FNAF 1 location. After all, it makes no appearance in Five Nights at Freddy's 1. We never have to wound the music box, etc. So this is a clear retcon, right? Well, what if the reason the puppet is here isn't because it was a retcon, but rather this isn't a location we've been to, or at least the same time period? What if this was after the MCI and the animatronics are gaining consciousness for the first time? I mean, in Gives Gifts, Give Life, we see Golden Freddy appear out of thin air, just like in this minigame, and later Help Wanted would do the same thing, having the player be stuffed into Freddy and immediately see from inside of Freddy's head. But that's just a what if, right? It would be if we didn't see this same debate caused in another game. Five Nights at Freddy's 3 introduced a new minigame that still leaves some theorists stumped today, Follow Me, which depicts the four animatronics making their way through the FNAF 1 location before being dismantled and William getting springlocked. The thing about this is, the location is shown to be decaying, boarded up doors, puddles everywhere, but the animatronics are still here, and to make it more confusing, the animatronics here don't match any of the animatronics we've seen so far, as Bonnie and Freddy are depicted with buttons, a design only seen on the withered animatronics, and Chica, who is depicted with half-orange feet, despite the fact that her withered version only has just her feet orange. So are these animatronics the withers rebuilt, or the classics? Well, despite this minigame's use of sprites, we actually know the answer to this. In the Five Nights at Freddy's 3 phone calls, we're told that while they haven't been able to find the endoskeletons of the characters, they have found the casings, which is exactly what's left behind at the end of Follow Me. And wouldn't you know what casings they choose to use, but the classic animatronics. And most weirdly is this location is filled with 1985 posters, drawings, arcade machines, and even has a hallway straight out of Into the Pit's 1985 location. So, if these Prewithered were the main characters at the 1985 location, shouldn't they be the ones that are on display, not the classics? We know they have some parts from them, as in the good and bad ending, they use the classic heads again on the ground, confirming the Follow Me minigame takes place after Five Nights at Freddy's 1. If all of these small pieces all connect to each other, that the game that includes Give Gifts, Give Life means the dream sequences are the animatronics waking up for the first time, not when they're rebuilt for Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Not to mention, it doesn't make sense for this to be about the future when there's nothing suggesting FNAF 2 is a dream or a memory. It's happening live during the game, and so these dreams are memories from before Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Need more proof? In the Silver Eyes, Charlie and the others return to Hurricane 10 years after the MCI and break into Freddy's, which was closed and never reopened after the incident. When they break in, the animatronics are none other than the classics, not the Prewithered. Actually, at no point do the animatronics switch costumes, remaining in that form from which they were in 1985 before being melted together after the events of the Twisted Ones and becoming the amalgamation which shows up in the fourth closet. But, to be fair, a second Freddy's never opened in the Silver Eyes universe, so is that really a fair comparison? Firstly, we don't know if there were any other locations opened, so... And especially given Funtime Foxy and the fourth closet is made from Mangle, you know, Toy Foxy version of Mangle, but I digress. If that's not enough proof, then there's another place that did the same exact thing. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which once again has Mike visit the closed down Freddy's, and according to Vanessa, the children's bodies are inside the costumes. Not they were, not in another set of costumes. The classics are where Afton buried the bodies, not the Prewithered. In fact, we even have photos of young Vanessa at Freddy's with the classic animatronics, looking brand new. But that's a book series, a movie, neither of those are in continuity, Shizu. True, but you know what is? Into the Pit, which gives us a notebook in the modern time period depicting the animatronics from 1985 as the classics. The only place where they are depicted as anything else is inside of the Agony Memory, which switches between both. Just like Follow Me and FNAF World. I wonder. No time for that now. We need to talk about the final nail in the coffin, the piece that confirms that this theory, or a version of it, is right. That being a detail in the week before, a confirmed in-continuity book about a game character, Phone Guy. There are 3 security monitors on a desk, but 2 of them are always on the fritz. Replacing them would let you see more, but you guess management spent the money on those doors instead. You see the control panel in front of you to switch to the one working display to feeds from various cameras around the restaurant. You check the stage first. Your heart pounds when you see Bonnie and Chica are gone, so that's who you heard walking around the restaurant. Freddy's just hanging out up there on his own. The brown bear is dapper as always in his black top hat and bow tie. You're glad they restored the vintage animatronic with his classic look. Right there in this book, confirming the designs from the Five Nights at Freddy's 1 game are 100% the classic look of the animatronics in 1985. Case closed. But that does leave one mystery still on the table. If the 1985 animatronics are the FNAF 1 animatronics, then what the hell are the withered animatronics? For that, there's 2 options to explain this. One being, as I mentioned at the beginning, retrofit theory. This is from the FNAF 2 phone call, which mentions how the original animatronics, which we now know are the classics, were retrofitted with new technology, that being the Endo O2s. It's believed that during this process, they also gave the characters new shells to fit in the new technology, but those new shells ended up looking too ugly, so they used them as parts instead, creating the toy animatronics. While it is a bit redundant to have the pre-withered costumes exist for like 2 seconds and never show up on stage, it allows for both costumes to coexist and be separate. However, there are those who don't see the lines of these designs as being as straight as we make them, and believe that the pre-withereds are just the classics. There was no in-between, simply a change in Scott's art style. This is supported by Follow Me, using buttons, or FNAF World's adventure models, or Help Wanted, depicting the MCI Endos with Endo 2 feet, but Endo 1 bodies, or Into the Bit having top teeth, but heads shaped like the FNAF 1 crew, and I think you get my point. To be honest, I don't feel comfortable making a choice between these two right now, but the looming Five Nights at Freddy's 2 film has shown the Withers design will be making a cinematic return after 10 years, which will put the debate to rest by either acknowledging it as a new set of costumes, or if they're the same suits just damaged. But until then, we have a lot more secrets from the week before to talk about, so make sure you just subscribe to stay up to date. Let me know which opinion you believe in, or if you think I'm wrong, in the comments below. And I'll see you again soon in the next video. Just remember, that's just a theory.
A game theory.
Matane.